What's up YouTube, DMLX here, and today we're going to be breaking down the latest trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. Unfortunately, this trailer didn't provide us with a concrete release date or price point for the highly anticipated DLC, but there's still a lot of exciting content to cover within this trailer. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Kicking things off, we have a quote from KH3 that plays over the moment where our heroes encounter the Heartless Tornado in the Keyblade Graveyard, stating this: "The heart you have now already existed during that time. It had already gone back to the past. Nothing can change that fact." Which seems to be a comment directed towards Sora using the power of waking to travel back in time to save his friends, and could lead what happens to him by the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. Next we have our first look at new cutscenes from Remind that shows Lee and Kairi going against Xion, and while battling Xion they question why she wields a Keyblade similar to Sora's. Seconds later we see an epic moment with the Sea Salt trio, that being Roxas, Lee and Xion, performing what looks to be a team attack on Sayax. Personally, I like the added touch of Lee using his Organization 13 chakrams, also known as Eternal Flames, when chaining together a string of fire-based attacks. I guess in terms of fighting styles, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Moving on, we have Sora talking to KH3 in the final world. Sora then proceeds to tell KH3 that Kairi's heart hasn't been lost yet and that she is still around, and KH3 replies, "Maybe, but this time the situation is a lot worse." Now this could be an extended scene of Sora's first time meeting KH3 in the final world.
Why am I in pieces?
Or this interaction could take place after Sora uses the power of waking to find Kairi at the end of the game, which makes you wonder how the new cutscenes from Remind will be edited into Kingdom Hearts 3. Is there just going to be a section for Kingdom Hearts 3 where you just watch all the new cutscenes, like blank points for Birth by Sleep? Or is Remind going to end up playing like Final Mix, where new scenes will be integrated throughout the game? Next up, we have our first look at Sora in his dark form as displayed on the command menu, which is accessed by wielding the Oblivion Keyblade, confirming that both Oathkeeper and Oblivion will be part of the Remind DLC. Also, Square Enix stated that both Keyblades will be free of charge when Remind is released. In dark form, Sora's entire outfit is mostly covered in black with white strands around his shoes, jacket, and gloves, as well as having the Oblivion keychain symbol on Sora's hood. So one could assume when Sora is wielding Oathkeeper, the Keyblade's form will probably be called Light Form. Looking back at dark form, we only get a tease of two abilities for this form. One being its own version of Barrier, which looks pretty badass, seeing that this version of Reflective Magic has dark chains wrapping around it. And from the looks of the command menu, Sora can perform a counter attack called Dark Burst, but seeing that the enemy is attacking from a distance, we don't get to see the counter activated during the trailer. Speaking of enemies, the individual Sora seems to be fighting in his dark form looks to be a data version of Vanitas, based on the projection of multiple shadow clones surfing on Keyblades that are being used to attack Sora. Yeah, that's definitely Vanitas, which I think is a new attack implemented for this boss fight, and may be a reference to one of the attacks used by the Vanitas remnant in Birth by Sleep. And the reason I say a data version of Vanitas is because they seem to be fighting on a stage that is constructed similarly to how Sora fought data versions of Organization 13 in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. Speaking of data battles, we're introduced to another potential data fight where we have Sora in his light form going up against Xigbar. I see what you're trying to set up, Kingdom Hearts marketing team. There's a moment during the beginning of the boss fight where Sora has a cowboy-like standoff with Xigbar and must dodge his projectiles in order to perform the situation command known as Duck Shot. I mean quick shot, what the f***? I think adding moments like these during the new data fights bring back memories of the flashy cinematics from Kingdom Hearts 2 that were lacking in most of the boss fights during Kingdom Hearts 3. The next segment of the trailer has Aqua facing off against TERRA, telling him how she's going to cast him out of Terra's heart forever. And then we see what looks to be Aqua performing a team attack with Ventus, which is Aqua using a Blizzard on Ventus' Keyblade Wayward Wind, while Ventus rides on the Keyblade like his Keyblade glider and does a 360 spin, crashing into the ground for an icy explosion. Man, if this were the X Games, I'm sure Ventus would dominate the competition. Moving on, we have an extension of the conversation between the Master of Masters and young Xehanort. The Master of Masters talks about letting a false light dictate the future was pretty lousy of him to do so. However, it's unclear who this false light is. Maybe the Master of Masters is referring to Brain from Union Cross, seeing that Brain referenced himself as being the virus that rewrites destiny. The Master of Masters then tells young Xehanort that he has the power to make a change and asks what he wants for the world, which may be what plants the seeds for Xehanort's actions in believing that darkness and light should coexist in perfect balance, thus wanting to find a way to conquer Kingdom Hearts and recreate the worlds in his image. Moving on, we have a scene between Sora and Naminé in the Station of Awakening. Now it's hard to place when exactly this conversation is taking place in the timeline of Kingdom Hearts 3, but my best guess is that this conversation takes place in between Sora leaving the final world and saving everyone's hearts by diving through those dark portals. When Sora says to Naminé it's bad news for TERRA if either of them gets hurt, that could be a reference towards the entire Birth by Sleep trio, seeing that Sora did witness TERRA body Ventus with no remorse at the Keyblade Graveyard. Sora then also urges Naminé to head to the world of Ocean and Sky, which is most likely the final world. However, the reason to do so is unclear because Sora already interacted with Naminé in the final world when she contacted the Lingering Will. Granted that a conversation was optional, but who knows. My guess is that maybe Sora wanted Naminé to stay in the final world as a safe haven for her heart for when she gets a new body at the end of the game, but we'll just have to wait and see. Lastly, we have the rematch of the decade, literally.
Round 2, fight!
A tease of the battle between TERRA and the Lingering Will that was left unresolved in the base Kingdom Hearts 3 game. However, we still don't know if this moment will end up being playable or act as a balls to the wall action sequence on the level of Cloud vs Sephiroth from Kingdom Hearts 2, with the Lingering Will ultimately losing the fight. Also, I want to point out that the Lingering Will is wielding TERRA's Earthshaker Keyblade in this scene instead of the highly superior ends of the Earth Keyblade, which he obtains when he first becomes the Lingering Will in Birth by Sleep, and is then seen used when saving Vanitas from TERRA's attack. I hope there's a story reason behind this change and it's not just Square Enix pulling some BS retcon. Now one could argue that Ends of the Earth was used to represent TERRA's loss of identity, and maybe having Lingering Will use Earthshaker can showcase TERRA gaining that identity back. So I'm just saying in the comments down below about the latest trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. What are you looking forward to experiencing the most from this DLC? If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, it really helps me out. Subscribe for more content from me on Kingdom Hearts and other games in general. I'm DMLX, I'll see you in the future.